Chesapeake, Virginia, 1650 AM WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and at GJBTV.com. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
And we are live as always. Happy New Year. This is Sports Scene, January 4th. Glad to have my regular producer back as always. JD, Happy New Year to you and your family, my friend.
Hey, Happy New Year to you too. It's good to be back.
And of course, we have all the chit-chats throughout the hour. Of course, stay tuned for that. This is Sports Scene interview show each Wednesday from 12 to 1. Also, sports highlights on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends about 1650. Twitter, go to gjbtv.com. See all my Twitter handles. At Greg Bick is my main one. Thank you to our military. Great guest lineup as always. Dave Johnson, the voice of the Washington Wizards, will join us in the first half hour. Guest lineup presented by Mi Casita Mexican Restaurant with 2 great locations in Virginia Beach. You can see all the restaurant links on Hampton Roads, onlinemall.com. Browse, shop, visit, marketplace, coupons, retail services. It's all there, right there at Hampton Roads, onlinemall.com. Phone line presented by Spaghetti Eddies with 2 locations in Chesapeake. Sponsors in January, Spaghetti Eddies, Newcastle, Mehogar, and of course during the Wizards games, Fink's Car Care and Newport News Greek Festival will join them as well. Well, the national championship is set, and of course it's going to be Clemson and Alabama. A little drama this week as Lane Kiffin stepped down a week earlier. We figure, we don't know the deal there as well. NFL wildcard playoffs going on this weekend should be a lot of fun. Had the opportunity to work with Joe Buck and the crew at Fox this past weekend at the Redskins game in which they lost to the Giants. And one of the reasons they lost to the Giants, folks, and not many people said this, it's hard to beat the 1-2 punch of Manning and Odell Beckham. Manning has won 2 Super Bowls. Nothing phases him. His brother has won 2 Super Bowls. They've been there and done that. He plays a road game as if it's a home game. The Giants are a level above this time of the year. Don't count them out against Green Bay. Congratulations to James Madison University. We'll be playing in the FCS Championship this weekend. College basketball going on. Had a good time recently at Massanutten and snow tubing. That's a lot of fun. Prizes later in the year. Folks, take advantage of the prizes. Joe Daniel will tell you we've given away a lot of prizes on this show to a lot of listeners. When you hear the word free, take advantage throughout the year. Wizards this weekend, of course, Friday against Minnesota, and of course Sunday against the Bucks. We'll be airing them right here on 1650. Look in the Daily Press radio log as well. Great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary, what teased me off. Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene Weekly, and we love our regulars and you listeners as well. Greg Bick on Twitter, tunein.com, type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Stay tuned.
Long's Billiards in Newport News is having a massive sale. 7, 8, even 9-foot tables are at an all-time low price, including Connolly, Brunswick, and Olhausen. 1,000 pool cues in stock are up to 30, 40, even 50% off. Over 100 pool tables also on sale. When gone, they're gone forever. Log on to longsbilliards.com. Call 599-3661 and visit them at 9906 Warwick Boulevard. Major clearance prices going on now at Long's Billiards.
Mehogar is your restaurant for the finest Mexican cuisine in Hampton Roads. At Mehogar, everything is prepared fresh in a casual atmosphere. Enjoy traditional favorites such as quesadillas, tacos, burritos, and fajitas, as well as refreshing beverages. Mehogar has 2 locations, 4201 Granby Street in Norfolk and 801 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Call ahead at 640-7705. At Mehogar, there is something for everyone.
People in Chesapeake and Hampton Roads have come to expect the finest Italian food at Spaghetti Eddies. In addition to great lunch and dinner served daily, this fine establishment caters to and can host your party. Call 484-7301 for their Taylor Road location and call 410-5500 for their restaurant in Greenbrier. For more, log on to SpaghettiEddiesPizzaCafe.com.
Oh, yeah, this is the place where Washington Wizards basketball comes alive on the radio.
John Wall, edge of the circle, cuts to his right, splits the defenders, drives, 360 under the basket, makes it, scores!
Follow John Wall and the Wizards all season long on their journey through the NBA.
Catch and shoot for three. It's there! It's there!
Check it on Twitter at Dave J Sports or at GC Talks. It is the hashtag radio party right here on your home for Washington Wizards basketball.
Listen on 1650 AM, The Answer.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene on 1650 AM and TuneIn.com.
And welcome back. Happy New Year to Sports Scene. Greg Bicouvaris along with my regular producer. Thank goodness he's back, Joe Daniel Gutierrez. We love all of our producers, but it's nothing like having your first string producer here at the radio show. TuneIn.com, type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Well, you've been hearing the Wizards promo. We've had him on Sports Scene. I've known this gentleman since I was doing George Mason home games way back in '89. He was doing Navy basketball. He is with Comcast Sportsnet. He's the voice of the Wizards on the radio for over 20 years. He is Mr. Soccer in D.C. Let's welcome Dave Johnson back to the radio. Dave, how are you, my friend?
Well, that was great. A great intro, and I'm doing well, even though we're coming off a rough Texas two-step with 2 straight losses. But it is a new year, and feeling good about this Wizards team. So that's that's a good thing, and so that's got me energized and ready to go for 2017.
Dave, I got to give you a lot of credit. I was working the Redskins game for Fox as a stage manager this past Sunday, and it takes a day or two to recover from a road trip. You're on the road all the time. You've got more energy than 5-Hour Energy does. It's unbelievable how you do it.
Well, yeah, I'd like to figure out how I do it, because sometimes I wonder myself as I nurse a cup of coffee here, but it's. You know what it is, and I think the listeners can appreciate this as well. I mean, we love what we do. We love sports. We love the passion that brings. We get frustrated at our teams. We get joy out of our teams. And each night, and just as you were working on the weekend, it obviously ended badly for the Redskins. But nobody expects that drama. It's a drama each night that unfolds, and I think, despite how many hours of sleep you did or didn't get, that keeps you energized.
Before we talk about the Wizards, I want to get your thoughts, because you've covered soccer, you've covered the Nationals, you've covered everything for Comcast Sportsnet, and you've done radio and TV for several decades. Nobody can underestimate what it means to have a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Manning and the top receiver in the NFL in Beckham. They weren't blinking an eye one bit. And unfortunately, Dave, I felt like I was at a Giants home game on Sunday.
Yeah, no, it's as I said, the reality is, and I think, it's not totally broken with the Redskins, but this is life in the NFL. You're given a schedule that kind of, if you had a bad season, then allows you to recover. And this is why, in part, the Redskins haven't had consecutive, I think it's 1992. In other words, it's the next season after you've had a winning record, it's tougher because the schedule is in theory, tougher, and I think we found out that this Redskins, is a quarterback that is going to have success in the NFL. But look, you still need to establish the run game, and I think the great irony was the Redskins defense kept them in on Sunday when most of the season it was the offense bailing them out. But having said that, the Redskins defense still didn't stop the run, allowed the Giants to keep the ball, and the Redskins didn't have the ball, and that killed the momentum and also killed the crowd as well. So, that's life in the NFL. You've got to figure it out. And the Redskins are, they've made some progress, but this is a franchise that still has to figure it out, because it's not what it once was.
Talking to Dave Johnson, the voice of the Wizards. Dave, 16-18, they started off kind of slow, but seemed like they picked up their stride except for the last couple of games. Has Scott Brooks got the respect and the command of the bench for these veteran Wizards players yet? Is it still a work in progress for Scott Brooks?
No, he definitely has a respect and command, and I had a good feeling just from what everything people told me about him going in that, the Scott Brooks story is more than just, he didn't just get lucky with Kevin Durant or, Russell Westbrook or James Harden. And in fact, he developed those players. I mean, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and again, full credit to the players. I'm not saying, Scott Brooks is the sole reason now James Harden's an elite player or Russell Westbrook is or whatever. But the point is that as he took over that team in Oklahoma City, he brought them along and guided them along and took them to a new level. And he's trying to do the same thing, with the Wizards. So he definitely does have the respect and command, and he has a way, when you start as poorly as they did with a record, it takes a personality to manage the way that he did, because you had a superstar in John Wall who was healthy, but he was not 100% because he was coming off an off season of knee surgery. So it was a slow start, and to go from that slow start to a 500 record, at 1.2-9 or whatever the record was, to 16-16, is significant. Now, you don't stop and hold a parade because you reach 16-16, and obviously the Wizards have dropped the last two games. And look, talking about the bench, I'm not talking about the entire bench now. The people coming off the bench, there has to be more consistent production from the bench, and that continues to be a glaring problem. You have 50 points from the bench on Friday in whatever the Brooklyn Nets, and I think you had 15 last night. And when you're on the second of a back-to-back, you need some vitamin B. We just talked about energy.
Yeah.
You need some help, and they didn't get it last night, and that's a big reason why the Wizards ended up losing the game they could have won against the Mavericks.
Right. We talk about Wall, Gortat, Beal, Porter, Morris, Thornton, Oubre, whatever. It's still a work in progress trying to get a consistent lineup, it seems. But, you can always count on Wall and Beal. Is the drama between those two kind of overblown? Because it seems like they get along fine. And
it is overblown. And in fact, after we had a big win over Chicago on the road, Bradley Beal made a point of actually addressing that. He just said, look, it was something that, a couple of quotes were taken out of context. Where everybody in the NBA knows what everybody makes, and everybody also understands in the NBA that the next contract typically is going to be better than the last group of contracts. And that's not, John Wall doesn't hold Bradley Beal, any ill will toward the fact that his contract came up at a time when a new salary cap came up.
Right. And you talk about, the future. We're very excited to be carrying the Wizards games right here on 1650, starting this Friday against the T-Wolves, Sunday against the Bucks. The Bucks are kind of funny. I mean, they've beaten the Cavs, but these are two winnable games for the Wizards.
They're not doing well on the road, the Wizards, and that's a big problem. They've been in just about every game. But last time was the one game that, while they were in it, Scott Brooks wasn't happy with the effort in the second half. But you have to continue to take care of the home court. The Wizards are riding an 8-game home winning streak, so the Friday game is home. And, they lost a bad one in Milwaukee before Christmas. They really need to atone for that on Sunday. So it's a big weekend for the Wizards. It's, just yesterday morning or 2 mornings ago, Wizards woke up in 6th place. They wake up this morning, they're in 9th place and out of the playoff spot, but they're only a half game out. So that's as crazy it is. So, this is a team that why this is an important stretch, and it's a great time to jump on board, that you want to see the team make a run and continue to make a run in January and see if it can't get a more solid position in the standings.
Ooh. Talking to Dave Johnson right here, the voice of the Wizards, Greg Bicouvaris. Glad you're with us right here at 1220 at Greg Bick on Twitter, 1650 on the radio, tunein.com, type in WHKT to listen to your phone or your computer. Cleveland is Cleveland, Dave, but Toronto, Boston, Charlotte, Atlanta, the Wizards have proven they can beat them. The Wizards have proven they can beat Toronto in the playoffs. They did a few years ago. And the Southeast Division is still wide open.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I mean, as I said, the Wizards, there's no question they've got a quality starting lineup, and you could argue about, and people do now, do the Wizards have the best young backcourt in the NBA with John Wall and Bradley Beal? It certainly has the potential to be. As I said, they can't get 50 points from the bench one night and 15 the next night, so there's got to be a middle ground there. And what I'm saying is that as you just described, that the Wizards have shown competitively that they're right there with the rest of this group of teams: the Boston, the Charlotte, the Atlanta, the Milwaukee, the Indiana. so they can compete. And if they continue to grow, they can make a move in the Eastern Conference and solidify a playoff position, which is the stated goal. This is a team that was probably a John Wall broken hand away from the Eastern Conference Finals in 2015. And I know we just celebrated a new year, but 2015 wasn't that long ago. So the goal is to get back to the playoffs. And so this journey over the next couple of months is going to be an interesting journey, whether the team makes some moves to solidify the bench that I just talked about. That's going to be interesting to see. But it is a very, very competitive Eastern Conference. And the other night on the road against Houston, Monday night, the Wizards up against the Houston Rockets. That's an elite team in the NBA, 26-9 or whatever the record is. James Harden, et cetera, a team that can score at will. And the Wizards were right there in that one. And I understand it's about winning, not being right there in that one. But the point is, as structured now, they can compete. Now they have to get better.
Does Gortat have a more solid role that Nene's gone now as well?
Well, I think there's in some ways there's more pressure on him because and this is a negative for the Wizards. Their big offseason acquisition, Jan Mahimi, has not really played this year because of knee injury. So a lot of the rebounding pressure is on him. But I think to your point, and this is something that Gortat has become a double machine with points and rebounds, and he definitely seems to have found a better season this year under Scott Brooks for a new life. And Scott Brooks made a point about that Gortat may be one of the best screen setters in the NBA. Now, there's no stat that'll say how good you are as a screen setter, but his ability to set screens and help out with the spacing on offense is a big reason why Bradley Beal can get 27 and John Wall can get 25. And so he also does some of the things beyond the points and rebounds that doesn't get noticed in the stat sheet. So that's what again, the Wizards, what gives them confidence is that they have if you go 1 through 5, a solid starting lineup with a Wall, a Beal, Gortat. Otto Porter now is taking it to a new level and proving that he can also be a catch and shooter in addition to a slasher and a cutter and working off the ball. And Markieff Morris, there's inconsistency there, but there's talent there. So I just named the starting 5, and that's why the Wizards have confidence going into this almost the second half of the season.
As the old expression goes, it's getting late kind of early because you talk about there's already 34 games down, 48 to go, and we're almost at the halfway point. The All-Star break is always past 40 games, but January and February are going to be crucial to the Wizards getting a top 8 selection, not waiting till late March.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and that's why what was it? We're old enough to remember I was a kid, and you were a kid too, I'm sure, when George Allen said the future is now, but it really is. For the Wizards, you don't want to leave it past the All-Star break. Also, because the Wizards don't have a favorable home schedule past the All-Star break. They still have 2 West Coast road trips, and I don't care what kind of season you're having. Those are typically you try to go 500 on those, and all teams are in that situation. You could be having a great season, but it's still tough to win when you're playing 4 games in 6 nights on the West Coast or whatever. So, that's why Friday night's big. That's absolutely a winnable game at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wizards have already had hiccups this season. They've already, it's like you have a certain number of mess ups in the bank. The Wizards have used those up, and so they've got to take care of the home court and make a run now, and show what kind of team. Now the horse race is getting real serious because, and it's funny you mentioned that because as we turn the page on a new year and it's 16 and 16, it's a nice round number. I'm not good in math, but I can figure out that's 32 games. You're like, wow, how did 32 games go by? Well, they have, and there's not that many left.
Yeah, 34 have gone by now. So you look at the T-Wolves, the Bucks, the Bulls, Celtics all coming up. The Bulls and Celtics always tough. And, of course, the Wizards have proved they can play with them. But let me just say this as a commentary, folks, while we're talking to Dave. I was at a recent Old Dominion basketball game. That set basketball back, in my opinion. They couldn't score. They couldn't shoot. If you want to watch good quality basketball, I'm sorry, you got to watch the NBA. College basketball now, unless it's even these kids come and go so often, the best players are in the NBA anyway. And it just comes down to shooting. And I was at an Old Dominion game recently again, and I felt like I was watching basketball in 1980 before a shot clock. Dave, help me out here. You've seen a lot of college basketball too. There's no comparison to the NBA and even elite college basketball.
Well, no, and that's, look, there's a huge jump from the college to the pros, and that's why, over the years when the Wizards or whatever team is not having a good season, somebody said, well, Kentucky could beat. No. A college team could not beat a pro team because a college team has, even if these elite, crazy college teams have 4 future NBA players, they're future NBA players that still have to develop against a roster full of NBA proven veterans. And that's not the slam of the college game. That's just that they're just such the pace of the game. And I've noticed that when you go from calling an NBA game to a college game, just how much slower everything is, just because it's a different talent level. The NBA has 400 of the best athletes in the world, whereas college basketball, obviously, it's a different pool of players. So the point is, it's just a huge gap between the two, and the biggest misconception or misperception or whatever it is that they don't play defense in the NBA. They absolutely play defense in the NBA, and these teams are scattered like you wouldn't believe, and everybody knows everybody's play call. The problem is, to your point, as you just talked about shooting, you can put 3 guys on whatever player, and he'll still make the shot. And that's something, obviously, you're only going to see with a few college players. So you can play the best defense in the world, and these players are that talented that they'll still make the shot. James Harden is still going to make the shot even though he was double-teamed. So, that's why, you have this belief that, well, they don't play defense in the NBA. Not true. They play defense. The problem is the players are that good.
Right. Harden can shoot the threes, and the Wizards, of course, were forced to do a lot of threes the other night. But go ahead and set the table for us. What's a typical broadcast like? I know you do a 15-minute pregame show, and, of course, our producer here will be airing the games here on Friday against the T-Wolves, the Bucks coming up this weekend. Go ahead and tell the audience how the whole pregame and the game goes.
Well, we're very connected and very interactive, and again, if it's a 7 o'clock game on the schedule, if you take a look at the Wizards' schedule, we started at 6:45, give you a bit of a scene set of flavor of what's going on. We bring in the head coach, Scott Brooks, and then as we get closer to tip-off, we get a bigger analysis on the game at hand that night, and what is the strategy and the breakdown against the Minnesota Timberwolves. My partner, Glenn Consort, played for Rick Pitino in college, was a pro player in Europe, and was a former NBA scout. And I happen to think he's the best in business, and some of our listeners may be familiar with his work on college basketball television, in the area he's done games in the Tidewater area, et cetera. But he really knows how to break down the game. He's actually privy to the actual, Wizard scouting report. He'll do 5-6 pages of preparation for every game, and he could actually coach the game if he wanted to. So I think that adds the element of basketball knowledge of the broadcast that I think listeners will enjoy. And look, we also like to have fun. There's 82 of these. There's a lot of them. We like to connect with folks on Twitter if you want. At AJ Sports is my Twitter. Glenn Contour at GC Talks. We call it the hashtag Radio Party. I think listeners jumped at that because there's an interactive portion to our broadcast that has grown over the last few years. So I think the listeners are going to find that fun. That they can reach out and say, well, why is this happening? Or I think this is good, or they can make whatever comment, and this is what radio is all about. It gives, and just like the show, it gives a sense of community. And so we've got a community and a party every night that we have on the radio. And then after the game, you can connect with Glenn on phone with our post-game show, and we love hearing from the calls. We get a lot of calls. We've had Richmond and Virginia for years. A lot of calls from Richmond. Want to hearing more and more calls from the Norfolk and the Tidewater area. And you can tweet us, as I said, always. If you don't feel like calling, tweet some of your comments, not only in the post game but throughout the game. So, the bottom line is it's wins and losses, and that's serious business. But we like to have a lot of fun, and it's about passion. It's about the passion for basketball, and we want that to come through on the radio, and we want that to come through with you, all the listeners that find us.
Well, final question. Has anything surprised you about the NBA? You look at the NFL playoffs, both teams that made it last year, Panthers and Denver, not even in the playoffs. NBA, it seems like already, Cleveland and Golden State holding fort. It's hard to beat those two teams. Has anything else surprised you besides Cleveland and Golden State?
Not really, and I think it just speaks to if the teams are able to stay healthy, they can continue on a run and have success. I mean, I think the fact that the San Antonio Spurs are still an elite team. I don't know if I want to call it a surprise, but I remember a few years ago that people said, "Well, the San Antonio Spurs are old and done." Well, if you look at the record, they're 28-7, and they're still good, and they're still getting it done. So I don't know if I want to call that a surprise, but I think that's also a credit that for all this talk about superstars and look, and that's what's part of what makes the NBA great. These are superstars. These are amazing athletes and do things you're just not going to see anywhere else. But also, it is a team sport, and it is about team basketball. And certainly, the Spurs continue to prove that, and they become. They're still a story in the NBA.
Dave, all the best to you and your family. Get some rest before the game coming up against the T-Wolves. We look forward to airing it right here on 1650. We'll be tweeting it as well. All the best to you and Glenn and your family at home as well.
I'll tell you what, can't wait till Friday night to connect with all the folks on the answer. And again, I appreciate the time today. And anytime, we'll do this again. We'll have a party.
Absolutely.
I like to have parties, which I call conversations.
I'm a day person, Dave, so I love this hour. You know that. So absolutely, my friend. Dave, all the best. You're one of the best in the business, and great talking to you, and Happy New Year once again.
Happy New Year.
Okay, very good. Dave Johnson right there, the voice of the Washington Wizards. And, of course, Joe Daniel, you'll have the honor of producing all the Wizards games. And we want to thank the Newport News Greek Festival 2017 and Fink's Car Care for being two of our sponsors.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm looking forward to listening to the games and being here behind the action.
And what I like about what he says is it's a radio party, and that's what it should be. It should be fun. It's an escape from day-to-day life.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what sports are there for. They're entertainment, not only just for us, but for the players as well.
All right, we'll take a short break. This is Greg Bick on Twitter, GREGBIC, 1650 on the radio, tunein.com, type in WHKT to listen to your phone or computer. With Joe Daniel, Greg Bicouvaris, stay tuned.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Like them on Facebook and visit them at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 485-5555 today.
Mi Hogar is your restaurant for the finest Mexican cuisine in Hampton Roads. At Mi Hogar, everything is prepared fresh in a casual atmosphere. Enjoy traditional favorites such as quesadillas, tacos, burritos, and fajitas, as well as refreshing beverages. Mi Hogar has two locations, 4201 Granby Street in Norfolk and 801 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Call ahead at 640-7705. At Mi Hogar, there is something for everyone.
Oh, yeah, this is the place where Washington Wizards basketball comes alive on the radio.
John Wall, edge of the circle, cuts to his right, splits the defenders, drives, 360 under the basket, makes and scores!
Follow John Wall, the Wizards, all season long on their journey through the NBA.
Catch and shoot for three, it's there! It's there!
Check it on Twitter at Dave J Sports or at GC Talks. It is the hashtag radio party right here on your home for Washington Wizards basketball.
Listen on 1650 AM, The Answer.
Long's Billiards in Newport News is having a massive sale. 7, 8, even 9-foot tables are at an all-time low price, including Connolly, Brunswick, and Olhausen. 1,000 pool cues in stock are up to 30, 40, even 50% off. Over 100 pool tables also on sale. When gone, they're gone forever. Log on to longsbilliards.com. Call 599-3661 and visit them at 9906 Warwick Boulevard. Major clearance prices going on now at Long's Billiards.
Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicouvaris, each Wednesday from 12 to 1 on AM 1650 and TuneIn.com.
It was a very proactive role for one gentleman, but the Board of Visitors and Woodsea League and the president kind of let him know that there is a pecking order involved.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Wednesdays at noon on AM 1650, The Answer.
Mark your calendar for June 1st through June 4th as Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church in Newport News presents the Newport News Greek Festival. Enjoy authentic Greek food, desserts, beverages, music, dancing, arts and crafts, and much more. This is the 50th anniversary of this signature event on the peninsula, and it will be special. The Newport News Greek Festival is located at 60 Traverse Road, off exit 258B on Route 17 in Newport News. For more, log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org.
The place to go for U.S. rare coins is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. and silver and gold coins and provide free verbal offers and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, open Tuesday through Saturday and always online at newcastlecollectibles.com. Call 757-609-3633, 757-609-3633 for Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
People in Chesapeake and Hampton Roads have come to expect the finest Italian food at Spaghetti Eddie's. In addition to great lunch and dinner served daily, this fine establishment caters to and can host your party. Call 484-7301 for their Taylor Road location and call 410-5500 for their restaurant in Greenbrier. For more, log on to SpaghettiEddiesPizzaCafe.com.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email the show, bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com.
All right, thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Every Wednesday, noon to 1, right here. This is Sports Scene on 1650 on the radio. Lock it down, tell your friends. Great prizes throughout the year with JD as well producing. Don't forget sports highlights on nnpstv.com, gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. That's gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. Shop on the marketplace sponsors of gjbtv.com and Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Save the date. We'll be back next Wednesday for Sports Scene from 12 to 1. And, of course, all powered by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Browse, shop, and visit. You know, the Redskins lost this past weekend to the Giants. Ben McAdoo, the coach of the Giants, joins 3 former Giant coaches who took their team to the playoffs in the first year. Ali Sherman did it in 1961. Dan Reeves did it in 1993. Reeves also coached the Broncos, and Jim Fossil did it in 1997. His son was just recently the interim coach of the Rams. All these NFL coaching vacancies, unbelievable how many there are already. The Rams are one of them. And of course, we'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, listening to today's broadcast of Sports Scene in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea, listening on tunein.com by typing WHKT on your phone or your computer. That's tunein.com, type in WHKT. Subscribe right now to TuneIn for free for Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Thanks for listening on tunein.com, also 1650 AM as well. I want to welcome Outback Steakhouse, your place for watching the NFL playoffs and, of course, the NBA right there in Kempsville. Go by and see Mike and the friendly staff at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Phone number is 523-4832. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Late night, the best shrimp around, salads, appetizers, burgers, burgers, steaks, pasta, seafood right there. Start the new year off right at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Easy location. Take somebody there for Valentine's Day. Take somebody there for their birthday. Outback Steakhouse. Just go there every day at the Kempsville location in Virginia Beach. And of course you can log on to Outback and of course become a member there and get all types of great specials. They always do these great things during the NASCAR season where you get a free bloomin' onion as well. Those are really, really good if a certain driver does very well. So Outback in Kempsville, thank you so much. We'll take a short break. We'll come back with more Sports Scene, a short break right here on 1650 AM and tunein.com. Stay tuned.
Oh, yeah, this is the place where Washington Wizards basketball comes alive on the radio.
John Wall, edge of the circle, cuts to his right, splits the defenders, drives, 360 under the basket, makes and scores!
Follow John Wall, the Wizards, all season long on their journey through the NBA.
Catch and shoot for three, it's there! It's there!
Check it on Twitter at Dave J Sports or at GC Talks. It is the hashtag radio party right here on your home for Washington Wizards basketball.
Listen on 1650 AM, The Answer. Mark your calendar for June 1st through June 4th as Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church in Newport News presents the Newport News Greek Festival. Enjoy authentic Greek food, desserts, beverages, music, dancing, arts and crafts, and much more. This is the 50th anniversary of this signature event on the peninsula, and it will be special. The Newport News Greek Festival is located at 60 Travis Road, off exit 258B on Route 17 in Newport News. For more, log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org.
Mi Hogar is your restaurant for the finest Mexican cuisine in Hampton Roads. At Mi Hogar, everything is prepared fresh in a casual atmosphere. Enjoy traditional favorites such as quesadillas, tacos, burritos, and fajitas, as well as refreshing beverages. Mi Hogar has two locations, 4201 Granby Street in Norfolk and 801 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Call ahead at 640-7705. At Mi Hogar, there is something for everyone.
Long's Billiards in Newport News is having a massive sale. 7, 8, even 9-foot tables are at an all-time low price, including Connolly, Brunswick, and Olhausen. 1,000 pool cues in stock are up to 30, 40, even 50% off. Over 100 pool tables also on sale. When gone, they're gone forever. Log on to longsbilliards.com. Call 599-3661 and visit them at 9906 Warwick Boulevard. Major clearance prices going on now at Long's Billiards.
Now back to Greg Bicouvaris and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio.
All right, welcome back to Sports Scene Live right here on the radio. It is 12:43. Happy New Year. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. Up until 1 o'clock, recently was working for Fox this past weekend with my good friend Frank Alteri. And, of course, you talk about one of the reasons. Yes, the Redskins did have back-to-back winning records. They made the postseason last year, but look back at week 2 versus Dallas, a game that was on Fox. They were leading 23-20 and looking to add to it, but Kirk Cousins threw an interception that ignited the Cowboys' winning drive in the late fourth quarter. Week 7 in Detroit, leading with just over a minute to play, Matt Stafford drove the Lions 75 yards in 49 seconds to win it. Guess what? The Lions made the postseason. The Redskins did not. The Lions beat the Redskins in Week 7. Week 8 in London. Oh, I'm not a big fan of London games at all. Dustin Hopkins misses a late 34-yard field goal in overtime that would have given Washington the win. Instead, they settled for a tie. With that said, let's welcome Frank Alteri from Ithaca, New York. Frank, tell us your bio blast, and good to be on with you in Virginia.
Sure, thanks for having me. I'm a play-by-play broadcaster for WHKT Radio, and I host a sports talk show on VIC Radio as well.
Very good, very good. Let's get down to it. It was a lot of fun working with you this past weekend, too. Let's start off with Oakland at Houston. Who would have thought, Frank, that Oakland made the playoffs for the first time in quite some time, but they have to start a third-string quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, the team's trying to have some confidence in Connor Cook, but, I mean, even as an outsider looking in, I'm not necessarily a Raider fan, but it's so disappointing seeing Oakland. They finally find the guy after so many draft busts, DeMarcus Russell and Andrew Walter and the failed Carson Palmer experiment. They finally find the guy in Derek Carr, and of course he broke his leg. So this team is really going into the playoffs a complete underdog. When I thought with Carr they had a great team. Yeah. Oakland is 6th in rushing this year. So if they're going to beat Houston in Houston, it's going to have to be running the ball.
Yeah, I think Houston is going to win that game. They're familiar. They've made the postseason before, and of course, not that Oakland hasn't, but it's been quite some time. And I just think Houston at home with some rest is going to be a big advantage for the Texans. All right, moving on to Detroit and Seattle, Saturday night, 8:15. Seattle's always tough to beat at home. I think that might just be enough to beat Detroit. Although Detroit, you never know. They play well when the odds are against them too.
Well, here's the thing with Detroit, though, is they're very undisciplined. And at one point, 8 of their 9 wins were fourth-quarter comebacks. And yes, that looks good on Stafford to a degree, but it also means they dug themselves a huge hole. And against Seattle, in Seattle, you can't do that. Granted, the Seahawks have had some trouble on the road themselves, losing to Tampa Bay, also tying with Arizona, and also losing to Arizona. But in a game in Seattle at Quest Field, I think it will get ugly very quick. They'll take away Golden Tate and then Quan Bolden, and that's really been the bread and butter for Stafford.
Talking to Frank Alteri right here from WICB in New York. Glad you're with us. Greg Bicouvaris, tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. We're live right here at 1247. The show will be tweeted later and archived on YouTube by going to gjbtv.com, hitting the YouTube link. All right, so let's move on to Sunday. Miami at Pittsburgh. Miami's already proven they've beaten the Steelers this year. The Steelers are in a roll. They're going to be a tough out no matter who they play, and they're playing at home as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game to win for Miami, but I definitely think there's going to be a ton of points here. I mean, Pittsburgh is the 14th total defense, and Miami is the 27th. So I could totally see this being a game ending, in the 30s, maybe even the 40s, give or take. But when the Steelers are fully healthy with Roethlisberger, with Bell, and Antonio Brown, they are so tough to beat. Granted, their secondary is thin, but they've played better in the last couple of weeks.
All right, the marquee game, of course, Frank and I both worked for Fox this past weekend in the booth with Joe Buck. Giants at Green Bay, 4:40, January the 8th on Fox. And here's my thing. I want to say this very clear, and I said it already, folks. When you have a quarterback like Manning, who him and his brother both have won 4 Super Bowls. Their father was the quarterback of the Saints, Archie Manning. These are elite quarterbacks that are not fazed by road games at all. Then you have the best receiver in the NFL. Don't count the Giants out. Frank, your thoughts?
Well, this year's Giants team does remind me a lot of the 2007 team, just with the defense and also, I guess, the depth at wide receiver. But Aaron Rodgers has played so well past 6 games. Obviously, the Packers started out 4-6. And we all have to remember the Packers lost at, the record of 15-1 to the Giants in 2011. And Rodgers really has not played well in the postseason since his Super Bowl run in 2010. So I think the Giants are really primed to win this game. I mean, you look at Eli Apple, Rodgers Cromartie, rather, Janoris Jenkins, Landon Collins. I think that's the best secondary in the league, even better than the Legion of Boom at this point.
What has surprised you about the coaching changes? A lot of intriguing openings, especially in Denver, with Kubiak retiring.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a shame. Kubiak is such a great talent, and that team respects him. I really think the best coach on the market right now will be Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator for the Patriots. I just think he's a very successful protege of Belichick, and I think he'd do very well in Denver or LA, both teams that have pretty solid defenses.
Right, then you look at the Jaguars, are always in a perennial mess. At one time, back in the 90s, they did make the postseason. The Rams, of course, the second biggest TV market, about to open up a new stadium in a few years. That just seemed like they didn't know how to win this year. And, of course, they can go on and on with the Bills. The Bills thing kind of surprised me a little bit, Frank, and you're up in that area as well in New York, that he didn't have a bad record at all, the last 2 years. And let's say like the Rams and the 49ers. That surprised me that Rex Ryan was only given a 2-year leash. Something must have not been right internally there.
Well, you can still tell there's still a ton of dysfunction. I mean, the past 2 years they acquired a lot of talent, especially at the defensive line, and you'd expect them to at least win 10 games and get into the wild card. And if you look at Rex Ryan's career, you take away those 2 AFC title appearances, and what do you have? There's nothing. And granted, he had a tremendous amount of talent with Antonio Cromartie in his prime, and Revis and LaDainian Tomlinson. But I just think the Bills are ready to up the ante. They've been in the basement of the AFC East for so long to New England, and I think they were just tired of really just the same old Rex Ryan. He's a defensive coordinator, but I don't think he's a leader or a head coach.
Yeah, these are the openings: Rams, 49ers, Denver, Bills, Jaguars, Chargers. It was pretty much the Black Weekend, not Black Monday, for all the firings of the coaches. The weekend started, with all the firings early.
Yeah, they really did do it early. I also think, look at Chip Kelly. I mean, the writing was pretty on the wall even before his last game, even though it's funny to hear rumors and talk that he could join New England, which I don't think that would be a good fit, even though he's good friends with Belichick. But the 49ers also cleaning house, got rid of their, I think it was their GM. So, and also I think their quarterback's probably going to go during the summer as well. Kaepernick, I think he's on his last leash. So the 49ers and another team completely in rebuild mode.
All right, finally leave you with national championship in college football. You and I were talking how more popular the NFL is compared to college football. 41 bowls, nobody even paid attention to it, except for maybe the game between Penn State and Southern Cal. And of course, the championship is a rematch. And the biggest story has been not the game, has been Kiffin, deserting, or the Alabama team deserting him.
Yeah, it's a shame, just because Kiffin has had so much success in college football, especially after the NFL experiment when he went to Oakland. So it's definitely disappointing to see that.
Right. Absolutely. Your thoughts on who's going to win? Your prediction?
I'm actually going to roll with Clemson in the upset. I just think that offense can do so many great things. I think they're very balanced. Even at 13-1, I mean, Crimson Tide, yep, they're undefeated, but I think Clemson really had a tough schedule this year, and I think they'll roll in and get that upset.
Frank Alteri from WICB, thank you for all that you do, my friend. Look forward to working with you again, hopefully next season, and all the best to you in your career as well.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right, Frank Alteri right there, adding some insight to the NFL as well. So we have a lot to talk about here in the final few moments. This is where JD and I have a lot of fun as well. We'll get to what teased me off in just a few moments too as well, right here on Sports Scene. I want to welcome CP Shuckers, open 7 days a week and late night, your place to watch all the great sporting events, the NFL, of course, the national championship, Clemson, Alabama, college, NBA, have great food at both their locations at the Ocean. A lot of great places to watch all the sporting events. Let's get to what teased me off.
What Tees You Off? Presented by GJBTV.com.
And, of course, Buffalo Wild Wings, wall-to-wall TV, Wings, Beer, Sports, and Newport News. Go by and see the great staff over there, 12150 Jefferson Avenue, right by Patrick Henry Mall. Paul Odette and the wonderful staff. Phone number 249-3999. Open 7 days a week and late nights as well. The best wings around, the best sauces around. Excellent burgers, excellent salads right there at Buffalo Wild Wings. Delicious desserts too at 12150 Jefferson Avenue. Your place to watch James Madison this weekend. Also all the great the national championship on Monday. The NFL playoffs throughout. The NBA season is starting to heat up as well. College basketball, of course, right there at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, and sports, the best wings around, and they have really good food all around as well. All right, before we get to what teased me off, you and I were talking about Coke and Diet Coke and certain foods that go well. People don't normally go get hot dogs and water. They normally don't get pizza and water. They don't normally get the traditional hamburgers and fries and water. Everything, I really believe it, goes well with either a Coke or Diet Coke. Why are you a Coke fan, not a Diet Coke fan?
To me, it's purely just flavor. I really just don't like the flavor of Diet Coke.
Right.
It just tastes fake to me. It's tasting like it's trying to be Coke, but just isn't. And so I don't like that. Coke is just pure.
Now, I agree about Coke being pure because the taste is better. It really is better. But Diet Coke has no sugar in it. And both have some type of sugar in it, but we'll say that as well. All right. What teased me off, folks? 15-minute parking spots at ski resorts. Are you kidding me? We're trying to check in, get our passes, get our stuff for the day, and they got 15-minute parking
Better
spots.
make it quick.
I know. Unbelievable. All right, leftovers. We said this before in this show right here. Leftovers are good for a day or so. You and I were talking about pizza the other day.
Oh, yeah.
As far as you can't microwave pizza, Joe Daniel.
No. You may as well just throw it away.
You have to put it in the oven. Not taking advantage of something free. Folks, if you hear free stuff on this show, take advantage of it. It's free for you. Just remember the word free all year. I'm going to keep it simple. If I'm going to give away something, text the word free. Text the word free throughout the year as well. All right, you go to a restaurant, you and your significant other, or kids, whatever, and you get the menu, right? Not on an iPad or on your phone, but the menu is dirty from the previous spill, and you see that. It's like you don't want to touch the menu.
There's nothing worse than being handed a sticky menu. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's not the great impression of a restaurant. Also, you can tell a lot by a restaurant by a bathroom.
Oh, everywhere. Anywhere you go, you can tell a lot about the venue that you're at by how well they keep the bathroom. That's something that I've learned.
Right. This is what teased me off as well. All right. How about this? Running into someone you don't want to see.
Like an ex-girlfriend?
It could be anything. An ex-coworker. It could be a coworker's wife. It could be an employee at a restaurant that moved to another restaurant.
An ex-employee, yeah.
Thank goodness you and I get along so well.
Yeah.
But, there's that can be awkward at times.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Of course, right here, this is What Teased Me Off presented by, of course, Buffalo Wild Wings. We'll be having a segment coming up the next several weeks with the Admirals, talking about them during the 12:35 slot, about hockey. This is hockey time of the year during the winter. Of course, looking forward to the NFL playoffs this weekend. Georgetown playing a big basketball game at noon on Fox. The premier place to watch college basketball season long is on Fox. Of course, the games this weekend, Oakland at Houston. I'm going to go ahead and take Houston. Detroit and Seattle. I think Seattle is going to win, although I want Detroit to win in my heart. Miami at Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers are just playing too well right now. And, of course, the Giants at Green Bay. Don't count out Eli Manning, folks. He is an elite quarterback. He's got the words elite in his name. I know Rodgers is one of the best. Do not count out the Giants this weekend. They're a money team in professional football. I want to thank all of our great sponsors as well. And, of course, Wizards coming up this Friday and Sunday right here on 1650 AM. Dave Johnson with a call. Joe Daniel will be producing as well. Go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you right back. At Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV, HROnline.com, as well as WHKT AM 1650. For Joe Daniel, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. Happy Wednesday. Happy New Year. And we'll talk to you soon.
The best of News Talk Radio in Hampton Roads, AM 1650, WHKT Portsmouth. We are the answer.